Hello everyone, Jason Leah back here again. I was given a link to the extended edition for Jurassic World Dominion, and watching that version of the movie, I have to say, I think this version is a major improvement over the theatrical cut that we got in theaters. Now, I still enjoy the theatrical cut, but not as much, considering that all the problems seem to weigh more upon me as time goes on, and the more I think about it, the more I watch it. I don't think I would give it that A minus. I would probably give it a low B plus or maybe B, because a lot of the editing problems, especially from that first act of the film, were very noticeable now. But overall, with these new additional scenes added back into the film, bringing the total runtime from 2 hours and 26 minutes to 2 hours and 40 minutes, there is a major change in the film. And I would say that has a lot to do with the prologue being added back in. Now, we'll get to the prologue later in the review, but as we continue on, the plot is still the same. The character dynamics are still mostly the same. The character decisions are the same. Plot points are the same. Everything's basically the same. But there are a few changes. In the opening of the film, after the prologue, we get an additional scene where we actually get a first meeting with Rain Delacourt, who is trying to pose as a dinosaur protection wildlife guy, but he's really not. He's just trying to poach a parasaur off of Owen Grady, and successfully does so. This sets him up as sort of a secondary antagonist and a rival to Owen Grady for later in the film when they do fight again. And it made that fight in the Malta scene a lot more significant, because we now see the two characters meeting for the first time. We see how they act toward each other, what they talk about in that scene, and who they are basically at this point. And it just made that Malta fight scene just have a lot more of a punch, since we know the background of these characters and what this fight technically means. Now, going forward, we get to see a bit more of Owen and Claire that we saw in the theatrical cut, but we get an additional scene with Maisie going to a store by herself, meeting with the old lady who assumes that sometimes the worst of this girl, and she's trying to keep as low profile as she can. But it's an extra scene that kind of shows the state of Maisie's character and what she's going through in a visual sense. Then, later on, when we see Blue teaching Beta how to hunt, we get to see an extended scene where there are a couple of hunters that are after the raptors, and they miss their shot, and then Blue just comes charging at them and starts attacking them. Of course, they had to cut away from that because they don't want to show the violence of it, but the Jurassic Park franchise is known to turn away from kills, so I guess it's not that much of a big deal, but I wish we could see the bodies getting eaten. Then, after that, you can see more extended scenes with Alan Grant and his first scene when he's explaining dinosaurs to a couple of kids. They start laughing at him, basically showcasing that paleontology is sort of a thing in the past, and he's just now used to this. And then when we see the scene where Ellie and Dr. Grant meet up for the first time, the scene is also extended, with the characters getting to know each other a lot more, catching up with a few stuff, just things to pace the scene a lot better and have it be better edited, basically. So nothing much major yet. apart from the Rain Delacour scene. Then we get to the Malta stuff, where we see a lot more kills. The scene is basically a lot more extended in the underground section, at least. There's a lot more action involved, a lot more kills, and there's a cool Oviraptor versus Listriosaur fight scene that we were rumored to get, that we finally got. We can see the Oviraptor make a return in film, and he gets his head decapitated by the Listriosaur, and it was bloody awesome, and I want more gruesome scenes like that. After that, Carnotaur and Allosaur eat a couple more people than we saw in the theatrical cut, and while the Atrociraptor scene is not changed at all, we get an extra bit near the end where Owen and Claire reunite after the chase scene, and in the plane they start getting all lovey-dovey again. Then we get to see more scenes with Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler in the cave, and basically the two characters are trying to convince Maisie to come with them and that they will protect her. Basically, making that subplot of them coming back together feel a lot more natural, in my opinion, and it doesn't feel forced because their parenting instincts are coming into play, and both of them acknowledging each other's strengths and weaknesses in that scene. I thought it was very sweet and just added more to the characters of Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler here, and including Maisie getting over her fears. Then, after that, you can see an extra scene with Lou Dawson, and he's basically telling Ramsey Cole everything, why he's deleting all the files and hiding the evidence, basically showcasing that he's willing to do whatever it takes to make sure his work doesn't get into another person's hands, or at least the right hands of that. He really wants to cut the control. And this scene very much enforces that part of the character and gets us to understand more of what his motivations are. And then we get a little bit of an extra scene at the end of the Giganosaurus versus T-Rex fight, where it's not extended, but it's an additional change to a shot, where the shot pans to a close-up of Rexy's eye, and then it opens up when she is revealed to be still alive after surviving the Giganosaurus bite on the neck. The only change that was there was that the scene jump cuts back to the Cretaceous period for a brief second, and then jump cuts back when the lightning stops flashing, and we can see the Cretaceous period T-Rex mimicking the body of Rexy laying down, and then that's when we get to see her eyes open up. And this is where the prologue changed the dynamic of this fight. Now, we only had 2 encounters of the T-Rex and Giganosaurus in the theatrical cut. With the prologue at the back end, we get 3 encounters, and that means 3 fights. And the prologue encounter was definitely needed. It set up a rivalry between the 2 dinosaurs that perfectly sets up the ending of the movie, and it gives that final battle a lot more of a punch, because if a possibly younger T-Rex was enough to kill the Giganosaurus, what is an old Rexy going to be able to do? And how is she going to pull this off? And it adds a lot more tension to when Rexy is supposedly dead, because we've seen that the Giganosaurus could kill a T-Rex. And with this being the same T-Rex that we know left from the previous film, we are worried for its death. And it just adds a lot more significance to the final battle when Rexy eventually kills the Giganosaurus with the help of the Therizinosaurus, of course. But yeah, that prologue added back in not only set the tone better, you get to see a lot more Cretaceous dinosaurs and get to see the Cretaceous period for the first time in the Jurassic Park movie, not in a short film, but in the actual Jurassic Park movie. You get to see that scene where Rexy is attacking the drive-in theater and all those guests that are in that drive-in theater. It just felt more right with that scene added back in. These 14 minutes were not like Zack Snyder's Justice League levels of change, it was more like Batman vs Superman levels, where it added a lot more character development, a lot more more expanded subplots, and it basically made the editing and pacing of the film flow a lot more naturally. So overall, I would say that the theatrical cut of Jurassic World Dominion is not going to be watched by many people over and over again, more so than the extended cut. The extended cut is a much better put together film with a lot better characterizations, a lot better pacing, and with the prologue at the back end, it made that final battle have a lot more of a punch. Overall, this extended edition was not like it's not going to change the entire film, basically, but it made improvements to what we were critical about in the theatrical version. And if you're someone who was disappointed in that theatrical version, I would say probably give the extended edition a chance, because it does improve upon certain things from the theatrical cut that you may find worth it. If you don't end up liking it still, at least we probably got a better film. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you guys next time.